So today's episode, we're going to be talking about lessons that I learned when I was going through one of the most difficult time frames in my life. So in my life at that time, I was going through a separation. This is actually when I first discovered real estate development. I was going through a separation. I went from living at a beautiful gated community in Terra Largo, my dream home, everything I wrote down, years before that ever wanted. I didn't even think that I would ever have. It was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 4,000 square foot house, backed up to a lake, 3-car garage. Everything I wanted, new Tesla, everything. Then the separation happened. And then everything was not there anymore. And then I started discovering development. I did one deal with the Carter Road deal, and where I took one house, turned it into 41 houses, then sold it to KB Homes. And during that process, I actually learned how to convert everything. So I raised the private capital on that deal. And there's another podcast on that, or if you just Google case study on 130 East Carter Road or the Cruise Court story, you'll get way more details. I'm just kind of I'm skimming through it so you can learn really quickly on some of the things that I was going through and what I learned through this aspect. If you're listening to this and you're going through some hardship, I'm talking about dude, I went through some struggle. I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing, or I feel a higher calling, or I feel like I've just been doing this. I feel like stagnant, or my relationship, I'm going through a separation, or I'm going through a divorce, or I haven't seen my kids, or I don't feel adequate. And I'm talking directly to men. If you're a woman and you're listening to this, I apologize. This is going to be a very masculine conversation. So if you can handle this, fantastic. If you can't, you're going to have to get over it or change a channel. So here we go. The third fist is real. And what is the third fist? See, whenever you're in a fight, so I used to do jiu-jitsu for a little bit, and obviously in the military. So the first punch you know about, the first fist, it's called the first fist you know about. The second one you know is coming, right? So the first one's coming, the second one you know is going to come. The third fist you had no idea about. The third fist. So always think about the unexpected. The third fist is like COVID. Hey, when COVID hit, that was a third fist for a lot of people. You guys weren't expecting that one, right? That was like, oh, snap, what just happened, right? And everything shut down. And then you're like, oh man, prices of home just doubled in just a 4-year time frame, like legit doubled, because inflation doubled. Because whenever you spend too much money, that's called inflation. You can't spend more than what you have. This is just basic math, right? And so that's the third fist. And not only that, the third fist was going through a separation. The third fist was, my business. Now I have to start from new. The third fist, not seeing my kids. So if you've got that third fist, just expect the unexpected. What I learned was just be okay with whatever happens. It's meant to be. And what are the lessons that you're supposed to learn while you're going through this? Okay. The next one is this: letting go. Not even some things that you do is inside of your control, right? And Franklin, what are you talking about? I'm totally in control. Really? You're totally in control? Okay. Drink a gallon of water. Tell me if you can't go to the bathroom. No, that means you're not in control. That means at the end of the day, there's things that are going to happen that it's just going to happen. So you have to understand what I learned during this process is let go. Just let go. It's all going to be fine. Sometimes we hang on to materialistic things, or for me, I was hanging on a little bit too long to certain things. Like I wanted to look good, or like how would this look, or certain things that would happen. Like I just needed to let go. If I would have learned how to let go earlier and just understand, look, the biggest value that you have is the things that is right here between your ears. Between your ears is the most valuable asset that you can have. That with any circumstance that you're going to be in, it's all about the skill sets that you have, the skill sets that you've learned is going to push you forward. Period. Everything is happening for you, not to you. So never get distracted, don't get angry, nothing. It's all happening for you. Don't get stressed. Number 3, a temporary loss is a long-term lesson. Now in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, I just lost this. Like for me, it was, again, I was going through a divorce. It was horrible, right? And I was going through a separation. And then the person that I trusted, like actually a really good friend who was in my Bible study, was the person that then, now at that time, my wife was with. So dude, just imagine that, like in my head. And again, I have nothing against him at all. I'm just saying this is the reality. So please, nobody find who he is and try to search him out. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm 100% fine, because at the end of the day, that relationship didn't work. So if I looked at it from, look, this is a temporary loss. A temporary loss could be, now temporary also don't mean a day. Temporary could mean a year, right? Because even when there's this amazing book called the Bible that it talks about, one day in heaven is 7 years here, right? So when you think about it, you're like, whoa, that's pretty temporary, right? So even if it takes you a day, what if you just lock yourself up for, a year and you polish up your skills? That's nothing in the long term of things. Some of you can even turn off your phone for an hour, but can you do it? Can you just sit there and say, hey, I got to make this thing happen? Right? So it's just it's temporary. What you're going through, if you're the one listening to this and you're going through something, I just want to let you know it will get better if you learn right now what you're going through. If you don't learn, I promise you, it ain't going to be temporary. It may be permanent. And you may always have that excuse. Okay? The next one, number 4, every moment is a seed for the future. With the guys that work for me right now, 2 years ago, they worked for me on a part-time project, right? And so if my guy Tony was acting up during that time frame when I and him were working together, but he was just a worker, he wasn't lead like he is now, and he would act up like a fool, you really think I would bring him back to now have a full-time position leading a team to finish projects? No, I wouldn't. Because every moment is a seed. So if you look at it like, hey, every moment, every time you read something, every time you're learning a lesson, these are seeds for the future that you have to understand. Like, hey, it's all good. It's all good. I love what Alex Hormozi said. He said, it's a million golden BBs. And he's 100% accurate. For me, I just look at it as it's a ton of seeds. The more seeds you push out, eventually a seed is going to start growing. Eventually, somebody's going to see that seed. Just keep doing your work. The camera guy right now behind us, name is David, right? David's amazing. So you know what? He kept putting in the work. 2 years of work with another guy doing his videos, doing his podcast for 2 years. You know how I look at that? I looked at it as I got this guy at an amazing time frame. You know why? Because he's got 2 years of lessons. 2 years of like, don't do that. Don't do that. 700 days plus that he learned. Don't do this. Don't do that. That is amazing. You know why? Because now I caught him on the back end of that. So we don't have to go through those growing pains at all. So I could just that's why immediately when I saw his contact information, I was like, let me call this guy up. As long as he's not crazy and he's reasonable, I think we could work something out. So every moment is a seed for the future. Next one, see and read all the signs around you. They're telling you where to go next. When the lady called me for the Carter Road deal, right? So this project right here. When she called me, and she said, hey, I've got this property. Her name was Karen. That's her real name, too. I know people are going to like, Karen. When she called me, I thought it was a house deal. It turned into a development that now 41 families will be able to live in that development way past when I'm not here anymore. The other developments that I'm working on, way past that I'm not going to be here anymore. But what I learned was I saw it. I could see, and I don't only mean read like physically read. What I mean is actually read what's going on. Read the room. Read your own life. Like the minute that even in my own projects, or when I met Karen, I started reading the room. You know what I read? Her mom's name, who I met, who was the owner of the project, but she had some mental stuff. She was older. Her name was Nancy. And my mom's name was Nancy. So I started reading it. That's not a coincidence. You know how many names are out there? You know how many times I've met a seller that their same name as my mom? None. That was the first time, right? I read that. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. You ever feel like, man, I just feel I know I'm on the right path. Sometimes you just gotta, you're on the right path. You may not understand it. You may not get it. You may not even understand why you're doing it, but you just know in your gut you're in the right path. You know it. That's what I mean by read it. But you have to acknowledge it, and you have to be grateful for it. You can't just say, like, oh man, no. You've got to acknowledge it. You got to be grateful for it, and you got to keep on moving. Hey, thanks. It don't have to be like an hour long or 20 minutes long. It could just like the guy opening the door. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Keep on moving. Does it really, if you're in the parking lot and you see an older person struggle to open a door, you're telling me you can't stop what you're doing and help that old man? Really? Just remember, whatever you do now, somebody's going to do back to you. Somebody's going to do that to you. So you're going to be an old person one day and you're going to struggle and people are just going to watch over you and probably take film and they'll do a tiki-taki thing, whatever they call, or the book face, whatever. And then they're going to be like, oh, look, this guy. Oh, look, I'm going to help him and I'm going to record it. No, man, just do you. Just be a good person, right? Just don't be a piece of shit. Like actually be legitimately a good human. That's it. That's all you got to do. Like, just be good. That's it. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, thank you so much. What would mean the world to me is that this can grow, that this community that we're growing of true investors and true developers and people that are really in the business, that are really going to be taking action, that they're taking these lessons and they're actually going to do something with their life. They're actually going to improve their life. They're actually going to move forward. So thank you so much. And if you can as well, you could always go to trueinvestors.com. We're going to be starting up a newsletter as well. Go to that website and just find me on any of the social handles, and we'll take it from there. I'll see you on the next one.